Hi everyone, this is LaGiglia with the MortgageMessage Show, and on today's episode, we're talking about the best tax solutions for you to get ready for 2021 with Henry Fonanih of Jevic CPA Tax Solutions. Hi everyone, this is LaGiglia with the MortgageMessage Show, and on today's episode, I have my dear friend Henry Fonanih of Jevic CPA Tax Solutions. Henry, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show. I know this has been an incredibly busy season for you, so your time is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
I wanted to have you on as a guest for a long time now, and I finally got a hold of you after the last tax deadline here, because so many times in my practice, everyone is asking questions as it relates to an accountant, tax preparer, and all the different intricacies that go into people's taxes. So much of this show is focusing this series about people preparing to purchase a home in 2021. What I always find fascinating to me is how, even if it's not a first-time home buyer, which they get an excuse, they get a pass, but even not a first-time home buyer, when I explain to people how important their tax returns are as it relates to what they qualify for when they're purchasing a home. If you can, just take a little bit of time and talk about whether it's the self-employed buyer or otherwise, why the way taxes are prepared are so important when it comes to purchasing a home.
Yes, this is really a great question because a lot of self-employed individuals, they don't qualify if they go to certain banks. And it depends too on who is preparing their taxes. Having that in mind, the way I work with individuals, there are certain elements that we call them, you have to put them back. For example, like depreciation is something that we call it an add back. So if you do not understand these things, you may be using expenses that will not be add back. And for that reason, you will be disqualified for something that you would have qualified for it. So for that way, I usually talk to my clients, explaining to them, because remember, we are very proactive in our services. So we don't work with clients who come to us just during the tax season. If we are proactive, I know your plans, I know that you are thinking of buying a home, we start working you through until that process comes through.
That's such a great point, and it's why we're actually highlighting you and your services today here in the fourth quarter of 2020, so that someone could have the opportunity to start their journey now on making sure come tax season next year, they're where they need to be. That's such a great point. I'm glad you said that. Henry, we were just talking before we started recording, and you were sharing with me how so much of your business is guiding you to real estate investors and to property investors. And I had the pleasure of hearing just an unbelievable presentation from you recently locally about all the different parts of preparing to own multiple pieces of real estate. If you can, just give us a brief overview for the real estate investor who's watching.
Yeah, if you are an investor, there are many ways through which you are saving on your taxes, or if you need a very good advice. Because you might, if you are an investor, you could be an investor or a dealer. In real estate, you could be a dealer and you don't even know if you are a dealer. The way it works is that being a dealer, real estate for you becomes inventory, which sometimes you don't know. You are thinking that, I would depreciate. You wouldn't be able to depreciate your inventory. You will have what we call cost of goods sold, as opposed to somebody who is an investor who will be able to depreciate, and there are other benefits that we can walk them through.
That's so good. I know that we've shared some success stories recently between the two of us, and just have had an unbelievable great partnership and a referral source between the both of us. Share, if you can, just off the top of your head, a couple success stories that you've had in your practice. I know there's so many to choose from, but maybe one good story of someone who came to you that felt that feeling of anxiety and desperation when it comes to their taxes, and Henry came to the rescue.
That reminds me of this guy who came to my office last tax season. If you go to my review page on my website, you will see this same guy. He said he has been using his previous accountant for the past 35 years, not 31 years. He said he was very loyal to his previous accountant, but for some reason he found out that something is not right. That's when he Googled and found me. He came to my office, and I rescued him from the situation. He is so happy. That's why he wrote the review. I didn't request for it. He was so happy for what he received.
Well, and I think
that's just one of many.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's such a great testimony to not just leveraging a professional as we identified in the beginning of the interview, but it's also working with a specialist in your case. I know that there's a lot of certifications that you have, a lot of years of experience. Kind of talk, if you can, when you think about that client out there that is looking for a potential niche accountant, what are some of the niches, areas that you cover?
Well, actually, you talked of real estate is one of my niches. I deal with attorneys. I deal with service industries like construction, any service industry. But for now, my niche is real estate.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When we're looking into 2021, I'm always amazed every time of year I catch you and you say, Joe, there's a whole bunch of new tax code that just came out. Kind of talk about maybe this past year, some new stuff that came out and maybe some stuff on the horizon that we might be looking at, if we even know yet.
Well, there is a lot going on at this point in time. When election is coming, we are just putting our hands crossed because the law changes depending on who is in office. Well, but for now, I will talk about the qualified business income. That's something I've noticed on tax returns that are coming to my office from other accountants. They miss this deduction, which is a great deduction. They call it QBI. It was a new credit that came up in 2018, and it's really good for somebody who can use it. That is one of the new things that came in.
That's great. I know so many times I have clients who, when they realize that their tax returns have determined the amount that they are able to purchase for a new home, they ask the question and raise their hand, well, am I able to have my past tax returns reviewed? Speak, if you can, about how that works within the system.
Yeah, all the time I like reviewing tax returns. For some reason, I might realize that if I review, there are some missed opportunities that might have benefited the client. And we do that. It's just 3 years back because of the statute of limitation, which is 3 years. So that's the only time I can review so that you can benefit from what you lose.
That's wonderful. Henry, we've had a lot of success stories that we shared together, and I wanted to share one with you. I was so happy when I had a local business owner who reached out to me and was asking for assistance in this same scenario I just described, where they felt that their prior accountant may not have caught everything that they should have within the length of the tax law. And it was great to have you in my corner here locally in Plainfield, that I was able to refer them to you, and they came back just a raving fan. And I think the reason why is from the education standpoint, which this show is so about, is taking the time to educate our audience. And the feedback I've gotten time and time again with your clientele is that Henry took the time to actually talk and listen and educate me on what I was doing. What would you say for the person who, let's say, has never used a professional for their taxes? What do you say to that person to say, try me out?
Well, I will call that an opportunity cost. An opportunity cost is the foregone alternative. You forego. A lot of time people are losing because they think that going maybe to a place that is cheap, they will get more because they are going to pay less. But I'm telling you, that is an opportunity cost that they are losing. By using a professional, that professional is going to use a lot of strategies that you have never heard about. Sometimes you'll be amazed with what will come out. Just imagine a situation where you are losing a chunk of money that would have been on your table, what you would have used, maybe for vacation, for something else. You are losing that. They just left it on the table. Now we pull that money for you, and we are charging you just a small fraction of what we've made. That is what the kind of experience we are expecting.
That's wonderful, Henry. So to the audience member who's watching right now who says a couple things. Either I need to start asking the right questions to be ready to purchase a home in 2021.
Right.
I want to make sure I'm set up for success.
Right.
To the person who's never used a tax professional.
Right.
We know you're out there. That person. Henry, please share the best way for someone to get in contact with you for that introductory consultation.
Well, for anybody who wants to get in contact with me for such a consultation, just go to my website, jevicCPA.com, and you'll be able. There is a consultation form where you fill the form, and we'll get back to you.
So great. Henry, thank you so much for being here. To my audience, thank you for tuning in. We hope this information served you well. We're so excited for you to share this with your friends and family. Come check out my friend Henry. I promise you he will serve you well. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.